Hey friends, it's Mary Giordano and welcome to Unapologetically Wild. Every single day, you have a choice. You can stay where you are, or you can step into the possibility of something even greater. And I'm here to spark that flame within you and inspire you to show up, embrace the fear, and do the fucking thing. Messy, scared, and real. Let's get started. Hey friends, welcome back to Unapologetically Wild. If you've ever looked around and thought, man, I should probably be further along in life by now, this episode is for you. Maybe it's your career, your bank account, your relationship status, your fun status, or the fact that you're still trying to figure out what you actually want in life while everyone else seems to have their life dialed in. Spoiler alert, most people don't have their lives dialed in. They're actually exactly where you are. But here's the truth. There's this quiet shame that creeps in when life doesn't match the timeline you thought you'd be living by now. And I want to rip that shame to fucking shreds today because you're not behind. You're just running someone else's race on someone else's schedule with someone else's expectations echoing in your mind. And that ends here today. Midlife isn't a crisis. It's a damn rebirth. It's the season where you stop trying to catch up and instead start asking what's actually mine to carry and what was never mine to begin with. I'm going to share some of my own story in this one because truthfully, when I left my nursing career at 42 years old, I didn't have savings. I didn't have a fallback plan. I didn't have a plan, period. But I did have one thing, the guts to start. Everything I've built, my podcast, my community, the trips, the freedom I have now, none of it came on a perfect timeline. And none of it would have happened if I kept waiting to feel ready. So if you're feeling behind, I see you. And I hope this episode feels like a deep breath, like a reset button for your soul, because your timing isn't off. Your life isn't late. And everything meaningful is still possible. So let's talk about it. Here's the thing. We weren't born feeling behind. That feeling was taught. It was conditioned, repeated until it got so loud, we stopped questioning it. Somewhere along the way, we absorbed this silent checklist of what our lives were supposed to look like by a certain age. Married by 25 to 30, kids by 30 to 35, financially secure, fulfilled in our careers, confident, glowing, with a solid morning routine and a color-coded fucking calendar. And if you missed checking even one of those boxes, the feeling of being behind starts to spiral. Or worse, what happens when you followed the plan and still feel stuck or empty or unsure of what you even want anymore? Here's what nobody tells you. That checklist, it wasn't designed for your actual life. It was built by culture, by family, by media, by everyone except you. So no wonder so many of us look around in our 40s, 50s, and 60s and think, is this it? I remember being 42 in the middle of COVID, sitting in my car after another nursing shift at the clinic, drained, numb, knowing something had to change. On paper, I had the degrees, the secure job, the benefits, but inside, I felt like I was sleepwalking through a life I didn't even want anymore. And the hardest part wasn't leaving my career. It was realizing that all those shoulds I'd been chasing were never really mine. It was untangling my worth from the timeline I thought I was supposed to be on. We've been living someone else's story, wearing someone else's damn shoes. And now we're wondering why nothing fits, because most of us spend decades measuring our lives against that yardstick. And it's only when we start to step off of it or miss a milestone that we feel like we've somehow failed. But let me say this as clearly as I can. You didn't fail, you just woke up. You stopped going through the motions and you started questioning the rules. You got brave enough to admit, I don't want this. And that moment, that reckoning, is not a breakdown. It's the beginning of your rebuild. You're not behind. You're just on a different path. You're on your path. And the fact that it doesn't look like everyone else's, that's not a flaw. That's the whole fucking point. So what if we stopped trying to catch up and started rewriting what we're chasing altogether? What if you're not lost, just finally off the path that was never meant for you? What if the goal was never to catch up, but to come back to yourself? Because maybe you're not late. Maybe you're just right on time for your life. When you stop measuring your life against someone else's pace, you finally have room to actually move forward. Not faster, not louder, but deeper, truer, more aligned with you. We've been taught to look for progress in the obvious places: promotions, salary bumps, marriage, milestones, external markers of success. Real growth, that's quieter. That's internal before it ever becomes external. It looks like getting super honest about what's not working and then deciding to actually change it rather than settle in it. It looks like walking away from quote unquote secure because your soul can't survive the status quo anymore. It looks like staying with yourself in the in-between, the not yet, the rebuilding, even when it's messy and scary as hell. That's not falling behind. That's becoming who you actually are. For me, progress didn't look like a 5-year plan. It looked like sitting in my car after another clinic shift knowing I couldn't do it anymore and deciding to bet on a version of myself I hadn't even met yet. It looked like leaving a 13-year nursing career in the middle of a pandemic with no savings, no backup plan, and a mortgage I had to pay. It looked like financing a camper and hauling it 2,000 miles across the country with my dogs and cat in tow because I trusted that freedom mattered more than having it all figured out. It looked like writing emails no one read at first, making videos that got 10 views, launching challenges only 2 people signed up for, and still showing up. Not because I had the blueprint, but because I had the nudge, the whisper that said, maybe there's more. There's got to be more. And a stubborn Italian streak that says, I'm gonna fucking find out and make it happen. So no, it wasn't sexy, it wasn't linear, and it sure as hell wasn't on time. But piece by piece, promise by promise, I built a life that feels like mine. So if you're stuck between the life that no longer fits and the one that still feels way too big to hold, I want to welcome you because that's sacred ground. Rebuilding your life doesn't start with momentum. It starts with silence, with uncertainty, with no map and no guarantee. And in that space, you've got to be the one who believes, who trusts, who keeps showing up before there's any proof, because momentum shows up once you do. So before you run out and go build the life you do want, you have to get honest with yourself about what's not meant for you anymore. And that, letting go, that's the part nobody really prepares you for, because it's not just about walking away from things that are clearly toxic or broken. Sometimes it's letting go of the good enough stuff, the almost right things, the identity you built to survive a past version of your life. It's walking away from what made sense for who you used to be, but doesn't fit who you are now, and definitely not who you're becoming. And that's fucking terrifying, because even when something isn't right anymore, at least it's familiar. At least you know how to navigate it. There's a strange comfort in the known, even if it's suffocating you to death. For me, letting go meant walking away from a career I had built my entire identity around. It meant disappointing people. It meant grieving the version of me I thought I was supposed to become. And for a while, right before I left my job, it felt like I might lose everything: stability, identity, direction. But looking back now, that season was exactly where I got free. Letting go, it's not weak. It's powerful as hell. Because when you finally drop what no longer fits, the expectations, the roles, the timelines, the shoulds, you make space for what's real. You give yourself permission to evolve, to outgrow things, to say, this isn't working anymore, and I'm allowed to want something else. That's not quitting, that's choosing yourself. And if you're scared to let go right now, that's normal. You're not doing it wrong. It just means you're in the middle of a shift. So take the time, grieve if you need to, but don't cling to what's safe just because it's known. Your growth, it doesn't live there anymore. It's okay to outgrow what used to be right. And it's okay to not have a clear next step yet, because sometimes the boldest move, it's not starting over. It's deciding what you're no longer available for. And once you do that, you'll probably find yourself standing in a weird, quiet space, somewhere between who you used to be and who you're becoming. And that's what we're talking about next. So you've let go. You've said, this isn't right for me anymore. And now it's quiet. The after of letting go and the before of anything new taking root, you've left the new job, the relationship, the identity. But the new life, it hasn't fully landed yet. It's like starting in the doorway between two rooms. The old one is too small. The new one is still empty. And in that in-between space, most people panic because there's no dopamine hit, there's no applause, no calendar telling you you're on track. It's just you and your thoughts, plus every insecurity you thought you'd already worked through. And that's when the doubt shows up. Did I make a mistake? Was the old life really that bad? What if this doesn't lead anywhere? That spiral, that's where most people turn back. They go back to the job that numbed them, back to the relationship that shrunk them, back to the version of themselves that looked successful but felt suffocating, because at least that version made sense to the outside world. But staying in the in-between, that's the real work. This is where you build the muscle of self-trust, where you learn how to sit with the not yet, where you get clear on the kind of life that's actually worth rebuilding. Because rebuilding doesn't feel like progress. It feels like a free fall. It feels like walking through fog with no guarantee of what's on the other side. But if you can stay here in the weird, boring, unglamorous, scary middle, you'll start to realize something. You'll start to realize that this isn't the pause before your life begins. This is your life. And what you choose to do here, how you show up, even when it's thankless, quiet, and messy, that determines everything that comes next. So stay with yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, even when no one's watching, even when your brain is screaming for clarity or control. Now, let's talk about how to actually move forward from here. Bottom line is, you don't need to have it all figured out to take the next step. You just need to take the step. But I know that's easier said than done, especially when your brain's spiraling in circles and your nervous system is screaming for certainty. We thrive on certainty. So here's what I want to offer you. Here's a way to move without burning it all down, without needing clarity first, and without waiting until it's perfect. Step 1, you need to audit the shoulds. Ask yourself, where am I living on autopilot just because I think I'm supposed to? Write it down. All of it, every decision, routine, commitment, or pressure that feels like a script you didn't write. Then ask, who told me this was necessary? Does this still feel right for the version of me I'm becoming? Awareness is always the first move. You can't drop what you haven't named. Step 2, redefine progress. Forget external timelines and ask instead, what would progress look like if no one else was watching? Would it be resting without guilt? Finally setting that boundary? Taking one uncomfortable step toward the life you actually want? This isn't about speed, it's about alignment. Small wins repeated daily build a life that actually feels good on the inside. Step 3, claim one micro move, one micro shift. Pick one thing, just one, a small, doable action that your future self would thank you for. It might be sending the email, having the conversation, signing up for the thing, finally saying no for once, unfollowing the people who mess with your energy. Clarity doesn't show up before the move. It shows up because of the move. Step 4, let it be messy. You're not doing this wrong if it feels awkward. Progress isn't clean. Confidence comes from action, not the other way around. So stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for the map. Stop waiting to know the outcome. The next version of you isn't found in perfection. She's built in the mess, in the trying, in the fucking doing. And step 5, choose your own damn timeline. This is your life, not your mom's, not your partner's, not society's. You're allowed to slow down. You're allowed to do things that make zero sense to anyone but you. But you have to own it. You have to choose it. And you have to do it, or you'll keep defaulting to everyone else's story. This is where most people tap out. They wait for clarity, for signs, for someone to tell them it's okay to move. But again, clarity comes from doing the next thing, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. So if your life feels blurry or half-built, don't make that mean that something's wrong. Make it mean you're in motion. And here's the hard truth. No one's going to hand you the permission slip. You have to write it yourself. So do the thing scared, trust the whisper over the noise, choose the micro move or the micro shift over the perfect plan. And don't confuse slow with stuck, because momentum doesn't always feel like fire. Sometimes it feels like showing up to your own life, even when no one's clapping. This is what becoming looks like. Not flashy, not fast, but real as hell. So remember, you're not behind. You're just getting honest. And that changes everything. Thanks for tuning in today. If this episode hit home, subscribe and share it with a friend, because together we can bring more women into this wild, unapologetic space. Remember, waiting until you feel ready is the fastest way to nowhere. So show up, embrace the fear, and do the fucking thing. And don't forget to subscribe to my Unapologetically Wild Chronicles. The links in the show notes. Until next time, stay wild.